And this is Burr Cashflow Investors. And we do these lives every Monday, Wednesday, and on Fridays. So when we do these, we want to kind of cover some basic topics like answer your questions. Sometimes we do stories, everything real estate investing related to be able to address any issues you may have. So having said that, we're going to jump into the questions. And please help us out by sharing it with friends, family, and other folks that are interested in real estate investing, or if they just want to learn. This is a great place to learn. Also, we do meetings weekly. So this week, we have 3 meetings coming up. We have one meeting that is Hispanic real estate investors meeting, and then we have 2 other RIA meetings that are coming up. Really important, show up, network, talk to people, get to know people, grab cards of people who are there, other vendors that are there. Last time we had what was the name of the vendor? Oh, here it is. Quick Kit, KWIKKIT, right? Make sure you show them some love and support. It's Frank. His number is 847-738-4052. Again, that's 847-738-4052. Tell him Andrew sent you from Chicago Real Estate Investors Association. And the great product that they have, which I realized when he was here, it's kind of cool, which is that they have these doors. Like a lot of times, if you buy an investment property, be it for a flip, be it for a rental, right? They just sell the doors. So a lot of times the boxes are in pretty good condition. If the box, like the base of it, is rotten, you can always cut a piece of plywood, put it in there. And the problem is always with the doors. So they sell different types of doors, and they sell the hardware, they sell the knobs, they sell the hinge, soft closes, all of that kind of stuff comes with it. I think it's $40 to $45 per door. And so you can basically get a nice refresh look on your kitchen. Great vendor. They were there. Actually, they were here at the RIA meeting as well. So you make sure you reach out to them. So question number 1 today was, great question. Is anybody buying auctions and from auctions, and why? And is there a benefit to buying from auctions? So great question. So number 1, are there people that are buying from auctions? So when you ask that question, we should define that. There are 2 types of auctions. Remember, one is the sheriff sale. Auctions, or also known as a trustee sale. That happens every single morning. If you're in Cook County, it happens 5 days a week, happens at a 10:30 sale, it happens at 11 o'clock, it happens at 12 o'clock, it happens at 1 and 2. So there's a bunch of different options that happen every single day in Cook County. Other counties like DuPage County, like say Lake County or Kane County, they happen once a week, twice a week, depending on which county you're in. So that is called your sheriff sale and trustee sale. Like this morning, we were bidding on 2 or 3 properties that were coming up at sheriff sale. Didn't get any today, missed them by about $6,000 on one, missed another one by $1,000, right? Happens all the time. So those auctions are sheriff sale. That means the end of the foreclosure process where a person was not able to pay, they're at the end of it, and the property goes to a public sale. That's called a sheriff sale or a trustee sale. One of the most dangerous places where you buy because your title is not guaranteed. Like tomorrow, there are a couple of properties that are coming up. They have bad title. Do not bid over there. Right now, if you're from Platinum Mastery, it's a different story. So that's one way of buying, and we have a bunch of people that are buying. Right, we bid every single day. Second type of auctions are online auctions, and this is where the confusion happens a lot. So when we talk about online auctions, right, auction.com, RealtyBid, Xome, Xome, and Hudson and Marshall, Hubzu, HUD Home Store, these are all forms of online auctions. And specifically when you go to say auction.com, this is where people get very confused. So pay attention to it. When you go to auction.com, you're going to see type of auction. You're going to see 3 options. Three options. You're going to see a auction which is called bank-owned property. So that's a property that's owned by the bank. You're totally good to bid on that. And then there's going to be a list of properties that are going to be short sale properties. You're totally good to bid on those, right? No problem with those two. The ones you should not be bidding on are the foreclosures. If you want to build out foreclosures, talk to us directly, be a part of Platinum Mastery, and then you should go there, because those are the dangerous ones. But the ones that are bank-owned properties and the ones that are short sales, those are the much safer properties for you to bid on. So what are the advantages, and then what are the disadvantages? So the advantages of buying at a sheriff sale or a trustee sale, right, where you have to go bid live. And so we do it for people from Platinum Mastery, but where you have to go do that on your own, if you're basically not a part of that, that's fine. You can go do that always. The advantages of this, that relative competition, I said relative, right? Competition, not like there's no competition. There's a lot of competition, and there's a lot of really, really, really pro people that are competing with you. I mean, these people will eat your lunch. They have a lot of cash. So, but the relative competition is low. You can end up with some incredibly, incredibly great deals, right? Now, does it take work? Absolutely. Is it easy? It's absolutely not, right? It takes a ton of work, and it takes a ton of technical expertise, because you really need to be able to, you're buying a property without looking at the inside of the property. You're buying a property that may not be vacant. You're buying a property where you have to come up with all cash at the time of auction. But you may end up with an incredible deal. The other day, there's a property that was bought in the Oak Lawn area. Phenomenal deal. Bought for $210. The property's worth about $380, $390. And the MLS, it would have gone for a lot higher. I bought a property right here in Westchester. That property was bought for a phenomenal price, $150,000. It was listed on the MLS for $189,000, and the bank had rejected the short sale offers at $189, right? They wanted $210. And I bought the property at auction at sheriff sale for $150,000. So there's incredible deals. There's another one in Broadview I bought for $140,000 when the market price on that property would have been $180. There's another one in South Holland I bought for $115 when the market price would be somewhere around $160 fair market value for that property, right? So not to say that you can't buy properties incredible value. The problem with those auctions is they're very, very technical. You have to know if you're buying the first lien, second lien position, what are the taxes owed? Are there any other liens? Is the property occupied? Is the property vacant? And you pay all cash, meaning at the time of the auction, you come up with 10% or 15%. You need to have a cashier's check, or somebody needs to be there on your behalf, delivering the cashier's check. And then within 24 hours, you have to come up with the entire amount, right, of the cash. So for the property. So that's kind of the technicalities of it. On the other hand, you can sometimes buy some incredibly, incredibly good properties if you know what you're doing. Now let's talk about the online auctions. So what are the advantages? The online auctions, basically, instead of them putting the property on the multiple listing service, MLS, that's another way of them disposing the property. So they put it on online auctions. So it's a great way to buy more properties, for you to be able to see more properties. That's another great way for you to find more deals to be able to buy. So that's basically what it does. And the good part about the online auctions is it just gives you more shots at the property. So it may not be listed anywhere. It may not be anywhere. This is another place where you can go and basically bid on the property and buy the property. If you don't know how to do that, make sure you show up at one of the RIA meetings when we talk about how do you bid on these properties and how do you do this in reality, and what are all the due diligence steps that you should be following whenever we talk about the online auctions. So this is important to understand. So the benefits are you can buy properties for pretty good prices, right? And sometimes they give away properties. Like I've been bidding on a property for the last 15 times. A bunch of times they're like, well, no, bid is too low, bid is too low, bid is too low, bid is too low. They keep rejecting my bid all the time. And that happens sometimes, right? But then on the other hand, so there's a property in Westchester I was bidding on. I won the bid 150. I sent them the earnest money deposit. They're like, okay, or we're all ready to go. And then guess what they do? They cancel my deal, right? Just crazy. And then they actually sell it to somebody from Mastery for 142. I was paying almost $8,000 or $10,000 higher, and this is just what it is. But it gives you more opportunities to buy. So neither is right or wrong, good or bad. You just have to know how much technicality do you understand, and are you comfortable buying properties without possibly seeing the inside of them? So that's kind of what it is with these auctions, but please understand them before you start bidding on those. So it's especially the ones that are the sheriff sale, and especially the ones that are trustee sales. So can you give an idea of which are A and B areas in terms of investing in Chicago? So A and B areas are fairly easy to kind of figure out. So think about A areas as areas that have nice shopping, nice schools, higher priced housing, right? So if you look up north, you're going to have a lot of areas north side of Chicago that are going to be expensive, right? You take Evanston, that's going to be an A. You take anything right next to it, nice, expensive areas, right? You start going up, Glencoe, Winnetka, Morton Grove, Park Ridge, Skokie, right? All of those are forms of A areas. Now, are there some areas like compared Skokie is going to be A area, Des Plaines is not going to be so much, right? Is Des Plaines expensive? Of course it's expensive, right? It's close to O'Hare, it's close to everything, middle of everything, but it's not as expensive as Skokie because Skokie is closer to the city, right? So compared to Skokie, Des Plaines would be a B, but if you take Des Plaines as a whole, right, Des Plaines is an area. Now, there are some B pockets. Those may be some duplexes, townhouses, quite not as nice as the other area. So a lot of north areas up north, moving up into Lake Forest, into Glencoe, into Glenview, into, Vernon Hills, Libertyville, all that is A. Now, if you look at, say, Waukegan, parts of it are going to be B, parts of it are going to be B minus, right? If I go look at, say, Vernon Hills is going to be an A, Long Grove is going to be an A, Deerfield is going to be an A. But if I look at Mundelein is going to be a B, right? In that, I'm talking about the north areas, right? So if I go to Lake Villa, I would call Lake Villa, parts of Lake Villa B, B minus, going to a C, right? Now, Round Lake, I would look at the parts of Round Lake I would call B, other parts of Round Lake I would call a C, right? It's all relative, right? Is Round Lake as nice as Vernon Hills? Of course not. Is it as expensive as, Mundelein? No, right? But it's not a bad area. But it's not quite Vernon Hills for sure. It's not quite Mundelein, but yet it's the next level down in terms of pricing, in terms of amenities, so on and so forth. So same thing, if I come down towards, say, like Buffalo Grove would be an A, Arlington Heights would be an A, Palatine would be an A, but Wheeling I would consider a B, right? Now, is Wheeling a nice area? Absolutely. Great access, rents very fast, flips happen like crazy, but relative to Arlington Heights, Wheeling would be a B pocket in the middle, right? Generally not quite as expensive as, say, Buffalo Grove or Arlington Heights. So if I start coming down towards, say, Schaumburg, right? Schaumburg would be an A. Hoffman Estates, the newer part of Hoffman Estates, more expensive part of Hoffman Estates, would be considered an A. But then there's some of the older pockets in Hoffman Estates, I would call that a B, right? Parcel C area, which is middle of Hoffman Estates. It's west of Roselle, right? South of Bodie, that pocket over there, that I would consider a B pocket of Hoffman Estates. So right next to it, you have Streamwood. Streamwood would be a B pocket. Hanover Park would be a B pocket. There are some small subdivisions that are some condo subdivisions that are not quite as high in price. Those I would call them B minus. For Hanover Park, now you start going towards Bartlett. Bartlett would be most of Bartlett, I would say it's an A area, right? But then if you go to Elgin is going to have an A pocket, newer, nicer, bigger houses. South Elgin would definitely be an A. But then you have B pockets, which is going to be not quite as expensive, bread and butter houses. And then you're going to have a C pocket, according to me, in Elgin, because that's going to be closer to kind of as the river goes down, towards the river, that pocket is going to be a C pocket, right? So you have a nice mix in that, and it depends. Carpentersville, I would call it a B pocket, right? Lake in the Hills, the old pocket would be a B pocket. The new pocket, where you have all the subdivisions, that would be considered a maybe a B plus to an A pocket. Algonquin, most of it would be a or a B. So it depends on what you're comparing it to and which area you are in. As we start coming towards this way, towards Oak Brook area, Oak Brook would be an A, Lombard would be an A, Villa Park would be a B. So as we start going south, right, as we get towards the south part of Chicagoland area, you have a lot more pockets that are B pockets and C pockets. But if we look at the south, so something like, say, Oak Lawn would be an A pocket. Tinley Park would be an A pocket. Orland Hills would be an A pocket. Orland Park would be an A pocket. Palos, all the Paloses, that would be an A. But then if I take Midlothian, I take Alsip, I take, so I'm just drawing a blank right now. There's so many of these suburbs over there. That would be considered a nice solid B pockets, not quite as expensive as, say, Palos Hills or as some of those, but there's a lot of, say, Bridgeview. Bridgeview would be a B pocket according to me, right? Does Bridgeview have some houses that are really expensive, nicer subdivisions? Sure. So those would be an A, but Bridgeview otherwise would be a B pocket. Summit would be a C pocket, not a bad area to live, but then compared to Bridgeview, it's going to be a little bit priced down. So that's how you have to think about it. Like some Dalton, I would call a C minus pocket, right? Harvey, I would call a C minus pocket. So that's how you have to look at it, is that what are the economics of the area? If the economics generally are really good, then it's going to be more of an A pocket. If the economics are in the middle, it's going to be a B pocket. Otherwise, it's going to be a C pocket. And D pockets are those that are very economically depressed, very high crime. People don't want to be there, like Fort Heights. That's a D pocket, right? That's not something where you should be going. So hopefully that makes some sense. Can someone explain what does... okay, so can someone explain what does it mean stuck in a deal mean? So stuck in a deal. So it's kind of, everybody uses a different vocabulary. We use certain vocabulary, like we call it a home run deal. What's a home run deal? A home run deal by Mastery Standards is a deal that you buy the property, you rehab the property, you refinance the property, and you have zero money invested in the property. You're stuck in the deal, right? So if you buy a house, let's say for 120, you fix it for 140, and now you're in that particular property for, say, $160,000 invested, right? Back end value on that comes at 280, 290. Now, if you rent it out, you're making a lot of cash flow. You're making $500, $600, $700 in cash flow. You don't have any money invested out of pocket in that particular property. So because you refinanced all that money out. So then you have zero stuck in the deal, right? And then your DCR is good. So your cash flow is good. Your equity, you have 25, 30% equity. And your DCR is good. We call that deal a home run deal, because who wouldn't want a deal like that, right? That's a home run. You hit it right at the ballpark. So imagine if you buy a house, right? You buy a house for, say, $120,000. You fix the property. Now you fix the property for $40,000, right? And the property gets appraised. So if the property gets appraised at, say, $200,000, now you bought it for 120, fixed it for 40, and so you're in the deal for $160,000 plus you may have another 10,000 expenses, right? And then the appraisal comes back at 200,000. Now, is that a good deal, right? That may be a great deal. You may be very happy with it. It may have good cash flow because your payments may not be that high relative to the rent that you're getting. Say you're getting $2,200, $2,300 in rent. Your outgoing expenses are $1,600, $1,700. You're like, Andrew, this is great. I'm making $500. But think about this: if the property appraises for $200,000, and you do a 75% rate and term refi, or 75% refi period, that's going to be $150,000. So now you have a total expense in that property. 120 for purchase, 40 for rehab, another 10 for other expenses. So how much do you have spent in that property? You've spent $170,000, and you were able to refinance $150,000. So that's the term where it comes from that we call, at least I use it as such, it's called stuck in a deal. So you have $20,000 that is invested out of pocket. It's stuck in that particular property. It's basically, now some people say, well, that's my down payment. I'm totally okay with it, which is fine. But my point is that you have $20,000 out of pocket. It's stuck in that deal. So hopefully that makes some sense. The next question would be, does this reference to the amount of money that you can't refinance? Oh, okay. So she's just, so whoever this person is following up about this whole thing. So that, yes, it's the amount of money you cannot refinance, and it is invested in the property out of pocket. That's exactly what it means, that it's stuck in a deal. There was another question here. There was an interesting question, and that was that, are you guys putting solar panels on any of your properties? What do you think? Is it worth it or is it not? I don't, quite honestly, I'll say I'm not educated enough about the solar panels. What is the benefit? I mean, clearly we know what the benefit is. You can generate electricity, feed it back into the system, reduces your total electricity bills. In a couple of places, we did look into it, but it really didn't kind of pan out for whatever reason. I don't believe they do that for your rental properties, or at least the rebates that are available are not quite the same. And whenever we had played with the numbers, at least on our end, they did not seem to work. Otherwise, it would have been a great deal. But for some reason, the numbers didn't quite play out on paper, at least the way I understand it. So I'm not going to say if it's worth it or if it's not worth it. I just am not quite educated enough to know enough about it to say, well, it's worth it or it's not worth it. So I'm just going to refrain from, saying either way, whether it's worth it or not. So hopefully that makes sense. Having said that, we will end today's live, and we will talk to you on Wednesday. Please keep sending us your questions. If you're doing a great deal, if you just had a great success, let us know. We would love to celebrate that with you and give you some love and congratulations, because that's something that is sorely, sorely needed in the industry, for us to celebrate, help you celebrate your success. Having said that, thanks a bunch and have a great day.